It's the Supreme Court hearing oral arguments in a case which deals with officials in government flagging social media posts, primarily about COVID and the 2020 election. Our Philip Ward tonight speaking with a local attorney and a social media professional to break it down even further. Good evening, Phil.
Good evening, Mike. So according to SCOTUS blog, this case looks at whether the government's challenged conduct transformed private social media companies' content moderation decisions into state action and violated respondents' First Amendment rights. Mike, attorney John Meisner says this case more than likely will be a landmark decision. Oral arguments have now been heard by the Supreme Court in the case of Murthy v. Missouri. Attorney John Meisner says the case presents
the intersection of government power, the rights of people to have free speech, whether that's being people on the platform or the platform itself, and the general public interest that can be served by these platforms.
Meisner says hypotheticals on both sides show how bad it could be if there was an absolute rule.
For instance, to say that the government could never communicate with these platforms means that in times of dire emergencies, they couldn't pick up the phone and say, you need to broadcast this immediately. Well, most people would think that's kind of reasonable. On the other end, we know that government and authority grows on one another and tends to lead to abuse. And people are concerned that the government is going to use their heavy hand to manipulate, coerce, and control what goes out over the airways.
Owner of social media and marketing company Demco Media, Lauren Demco, says regardless of what the Supreme Court decides, the case highlights the power social media has in today's society.
Every age range is on there now, so that's how we keep up with each other. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. I think it's just a super important part of our everyday lives.
And with that, Meisner says there's no legal precedent to look at when ruling on the case because years ago, the internet, let alone these social media platforms, weren't even around.
These are all new ideals because of new creations. And as we exponentially become more creative and add AI into the discussion, we'll only double and triple the types of questions and issues that'll need to be resolved.
And Mike, we expect the Supreme Court to make a decision on the case coming up in June. Live in the studio, Philip Ward, Erie News Now.